Welcome to today's webinar, The State of the Customer Success Profession 2018 Survey Result First Look. Today we have Jill Rubin, our CMO, and Costen Hickman, one of our senior customer success manager, joining us. And they will be presenting the initial findings that we have from our 2018 survey. Jill?
Thanks, Catherine. Welcome, everyone. We're delighted to have you. So today we're going to talk about a couple things about our customer success survey. Why do we do the survey? A little bit about the participants and the profile of people that have supplied us information. We're going to talk a little bit about the state of the customer success profession, kind of where it is today, where it's been in the recent past, and where we think it's going. And then we'll talk about the survey results. So lots of interesting data. And we're going to share some of that with you today, and then we will be sending out the full report soon. And then, of course, we'll do some Q&A. Okay, so why do we do the survey? We started this several years ago, and it's basically to provide valuable information on trends in customer success. And this is really for our customers and for the community at large. And it's still a relatively new profession, right? Customer success has been around 5 to 7 years. And so people are still learning about it. Companies are still trying to understand how to approach it. And so the more information that we can gather and share, the better it is, I think, for the community at large. So people are eager to see kind of what other people are doing and how they can benchmark that against their own efforts. So we're just trying to have everyone be a little bit more knowledgeable about what the industry as a whole is doing. And unfortunately, last year we did not produce the report because we had some data quality issues. And so we felt we didn't want to produce something that wasn't accurate. So our relative measure will be against 2016, not 2017. Okay, so what did the survey look like? What's the profile? So we surveyed thousands of professionals, and we received information from people all over the world, which was great. So obviously, a majority of the respondents came from the United States, about 63%, and within the U.S., there was a concentration in California and New York, both coasts, which again, not surprising because those two states have been the earliest to adopt customer success. So another interesting thing is if you look at LinkedIn, Customer Success Manager is the number 3 most promising jobs listed for 2018, which is pretty amazing because we all know what goes through LinkedIn. They have jobs on every possible topic and area. And so I think to be ranked number 3 is pretty amazing. So it clearly shows that customer success is on the rise. It's very critical for companies to focus on customer success, and it's a great career path. So if you look at team size, the majority of CS teams, in this case actually 83%, saw growth within the last year. And so that's, again, showing a trend that companies not only are adopting customer success, but they're increasing the focus on it and increasing the team size. So a good thing for the industry. So in terms of titles, the distribution of titles didn't change that much. Again, probably not that surprising. The majority obviously being Customer Success Manager, about 50%. And but again, to just support the fact that these teams are growing, 64% have more than 5 people on the team now, compared to 59% in 2016. So the trend is up, and companies are now finding success with customer success, and they're adding more people, which is great.
Yeah, Jill, can I add something on this is Costen. This is largely the same story that I'm seeing as a CSM at Tango when I talk to our customers. For the most part, the new customers that we're getting are a bit larger than we had seen in the past, but there's still every startup environment understands that customer success is something that they need to consider when they're building out their organization. So I think we're seeing, while more and more companies are including customer success as a vital part of their company's culture and foundation, we're also seeing the startup mentality still very much a part of the picture here.
And I think what else is interesting is that we're seeing this customer success extend past just SaaS companies, and so high-tech SaaS, and so even B2C companies, IT services management, I mean, across the board. And so I think that that's also changing the landscape of customer success, which is great. So in terms of maturity, this also goes along with just customer success being around and continuing. So more than 42% have been around for more than 3 years compared to 25% in 2016. So that's pretty significant. And so if you look at the chart, the majority have been 1 year or above, which is great. So customer success is here to stay, and as more companies adopt it, we'll see over time the numbers are going to increase dramatically. So where does CS reside? This is an interesting thing. Clearly, approximately 50% of customer success teams report to someone in the C-suite. And so that's, I think, very telling and significant, because this is very, very strategic to companies. And so whether it's the CEO, COO, or the CCO, I think is becoming a much more popular title. This is a very important initiative for companies, and so it's clearly shown in this with this information.
This also backs up the anecdotal evidence that we've seen on the CS team at Tango, in that more and more organizations, as they scale, are combining services, professional services, and support within the same umbrella of customer success, but with its own own areas of responsibility within that team. So those 3 areas we're seeing more and more are rolling up into a single leader that owns the results from all 3 of those functions. But customer success is still very much its own separate team with its own separate goals, as opposed to support and professional services.
And that was evidenced. We just recently went to TSIA's event, TSW, and they were talking about the very same thing, that now, because customer success is such an important initiative, it's more than just customer success teams that are focused on it. And so service and support are very critical to the success of a customer. And so those are all now collaborating and working together as one larger team, which makes sense. But customer success driving the major initiative. It still is under the umbrella of customer success.
Yeah, so this slide, I think, is really helpful in terms of understanding what customer success teams are responsible for, and how much overlap there is across all industries, right? So the churn reduction remains the primary focus of most customer success teams. And I think in most cases they're viewing that as a byproduct of driving adoption and having successful onboardings and advocating for customers, making sure that they get good support when needed, and also with customer success becoming more of a revenue center and a profit driver than ever before through upsell expansion. So all of these are ultimately components of the bigger picture goal, and it actually dovetails nicely into Tango's new version of Customer Success Center called Spark, where these things can be their own success blocks, where you can set your own KPIs to really drive them. So these priorities and also merge pretty well with the Tango's own roadmap that we'll see here in the coming weeks and months.
And it's interesting, we surveyed a lot of our customers before releasing Spark, and we were asking them what they were using Tango for, and onboarding was like the #1 initiative that companies were using customer success for. And it makes sense, because if their customers are onboarded properly, then they're off to a great start, and you have a much greater likelihood that they're going to continue using the product, they're going to become advocates, and that you can grow the account. So it's all related.
This is an example of some of the tools that still exist today. I think or that are in use today. You can see in many cases within the industry, the CRM still remains the most commonly used tool. And at Tango, we still see that our most common competitor is Excel, right? The managing adoption, health, et cetera, in Google Sheets and other Excel worksheets. So the customer success platform purchase among the respondents is up from 36 to 43% still in a year. But there's still a lot of opportunity for Tango and also for the rest of the industry to leverage a customer success platform to bring it all together. So as a compensation angle, we did ask some questions about that, and we have this breakdown. You can see that most 2/3 of those respondents have a bonus on component on top of their salary, and many of those bonuses are considered also as commissions on top of renewals and upsells that are either delivered to a sales team or executed themselves. And then at this point, with the respondents that we had in the survey, still less than 5% actually have stock options with the company. So there's still some opportunity from the industry to catch up with the rest of the tech employees to include equity as a component of compensation. And you can see the breakdowns here of each of the key titles that we saw. There's a pretty wide range of salary across the board for a customer success manager, but mostly living in the range between 50 and 100,000. This obviously varies by region. So in New York and California, you'll probably see higher average customer success salaries. But this is on average for all of the respondents that filled out the survey. You can also see that almost 2/3 of those that responded reported having higher compensation year over year as opposed to the previous year. Let's take a look at the salaries for directors. The breakdown is similar. Roughly 2/3 again are higher than last year, with most of the salaries ranging between 75 and 150,000. But you can see here again a very wide distribution of salaries based on the levels of responsibility that typically come with a director role. And then the last one is the compensation for customer success executives, grouping CCOs and VPs into the same bucket here. But you can see that it's a good place to be. Most of the almost half of those that filled out this survey were 175 plus. You can see that roughly half of those had reported an increase year over year.
So great information. Our complete report will be available in June, and we will let you know and send that to you. And so we've got a lot more information in there to share. And so we want to thank you for joining us.
For now, we have a few minutes for questions. I have a question for Costen, actually. Costen, can you discuss some of the trends that you have been seeing from our own customer base on the CS industry?
Sure. So this is my own experience, but as more and more larger companies are purchasing customer success platforms and investing in the discipline of customer success, we're seeing more and more specialization, right? And in terms of having an onboarding team or an escalations team or an analytics team that's specifically devoted to customer success, to really specialize in skill sets and help a team scale through expertise. Another thing that we're seeing a lot of is continued focus on customer success as a cost, and it's not as a cost center, but rather a revenue driver. So upsell and expansion continues to get more and more focus of customer success teams and company executive teams across our customer base. So I think scalability through specialization and more focus on driving revenue through expansion are the two big ones that we're seeing today.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for attending, and a special thanks to Costen and Jill. If you would like to learn more about us, you can go to our website, or you could send an email to hi@tango.com. Again, we will be sending out the presentations and recordings, so you'll have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.